Welcome back, everybody, to the second part of our Dare to Share podcast with my wonderful guest, Misi. The first part of the podcast was quite emotional for me, I would say, because Misi shared her childhood story, the fact that she was raised by family members, having lost her mom at the age of 4, the need for her to be kind and to help and to fix people. And she talked about when she was in a very, very difficult place, trying to sort out her papers abroad, having a relationship. And how she met her partner at the time. We also talked about some of the gory experiences that this lady went through, leading up to the point where she actually felt suicidal. And I believe that was possibly a turning point or close to a turning point, because even though she got to a point of feeling suicidal from the violence and the trauma that she experienced in her marriage, she was still ready to fight and to keep her marriage. So tell us about your second major attempt at saving your marriage at the time.
Yeah, I think that was just, trying to commit to the 10 session, 10 months kind of program with another couple where we would meet, I think, once a month or so.
Right.
And that was designed to help us walk through a lot of things. However, that did not work.
That didn't work.
Yeah,
Why didn't it work?
That didn't work because we had an incident where, as much as I kept quiet and I felt like I was trying to avoid, walk on eggshell.
Yeah.
And then it ended up getting into a conflict over, you didn't cook, I'm busy outside. Like the conflict just started, and then again the temper tantrum started, the throwing of things, the
Wow.
pushing of things that and then I think that we got them involved, and at that point
How did you get involved?
we got the couple that were helping us.
That were helping you.
At that point, they were like, okay, you know what, you guys, this is more of a safety issue thing. And for me, I'd never left the house ever to, even when one of the counselor I used to see, because I was talking to someone too.
Personally.
I said, personally. She had said, oh, maybe you need a break. I never thought of taking a break. For the first time, I took one. So going back to your question around when did this begin, I think it began for me when I listened to a coach in Nigeria. And she was talking about trauma, and if you don't remember what your first 5 years or 6 years of life was, then there must have been some traumatic experiences that made your brain block those memories. And I sat down there and I was trying to think and remember, what was I like at 5 years, at 6 years? I don't remember jack.
So all of that was blurred.
It was blurred out.
You don't remember what your childhood was like.
And even that, me getting involved with that coach, there was also spiritual abuse where my partner,
Spiritual abuse.
well,
Let's
I
hear
call it
about that.
spiritual abuse
Yeah.
because when someone starts, to the point to say, oh, you're praying at your prayers now, oh God, like you're praying your prayer, you're always praying, you're always acting like a holy person, and you're following, now you're following this person again. Before you when you heard of Joyce Meyer, you're following. Yeah, what is wrong with you? Why are you always following
So you were even blamed for looking for help and trying to kind of fix the situation that was not good, that was toxic.
Yeah, because I was doing too much self-help.
You were blamed for looking for help too.
Too much self-help stuff. So, self-help book or self-help podcast.
Wow.
And I remember saying, you know what, at least I'm not going to the herbalist or going to a place
a shrink
or something that will destroy. It's more of this. So I think that listening to that lady for a while there, I think just started changing something on the inside of me where I could no longer ignore some of the things or hide behind some of the things. So as this was going on, I was still trying to fight on, right? So going back to your question, we did, when that event happened and the throwing things, that was my breaking point. I just decided that, okay, you know what? they've told us separation, and that was really hard for me. But you know what? I got to get out.
Because now it was a lot more than your emotional health. It was actually safety.
It was the safety.
Because again, there was the breaking of
Oh,
stuff, the anger, the lashing out, and you'd had enough.
There has always been a safety concern.
Wow.
We had EPO.
But didn't you see it? You already had an emergency
We had
protection
emergency
order.
protection, I think, earlier in the first few years.
Wow.
Because of, he moved out and there was a lot of threats. There's just too much threats. Like so much threats.
So it was always threatening you, which is another thing we find in these people, that they threaten you a lot over every little thing.
Yeah, even if you're arguing, you're talking, and the threats becomes higher until
Wow.
you succumb, until you start to obey.
It
right?
was a
Until you
control tactic.
It was, because he would, yeah, just keep going until I shut up or I stand, to the point where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, another coping mechanism that I learned in this counseling, and just do tongue fasting, don't talk. But even when
Tongue fasting.
yeah,
Did that work?
no, because even when I kept quiet, it was irritating him and pissing him off.
So if you talk, he was irritated and angry and he threw things. If you were silent, it irritated him more.
It irritated him because it's like you're ignoring me intentionally, So it's almost like the constant poking, I knew where to poke, because sometimes I would respond, sometimes I wouldn't. So at this time where this happened, I had tried so hard not to respond. I was fasting, I was praying, I was going through this program.
Wow.
And I felt the poke everywhere.
Wow.
The poke was so much that he did something where I was working, came close by and was having a conversation with a friend. And I was at work because I was working at home. And the conversation was about me and my family and how bad we are and how bad I am.
Over the phone.
Over the phone, talking to this person.
And you were hearing, overhearing.
It was intentional. He wanted me to hear it.
Wow.
Because there's been poking that has been ignored.
Right.
And that broke me. And I called him later because I'd been ignoring, not talking and everything. So I said, okay, so you had to call someone to badmouth me so much. You knew I was hearing, and I was crying and I was begging.
No empathy.
And he looked at me and he said, you know the funny thing, I wasn't even talking to anybody. I just wanted to.
He just wanted you to feel that he was talking to somebody to make you feel bad. And again, this is what these people do.
And then
they will go to any length to make you feel bad.
I was like,
so that was a setup.
That was the setup.
Well, he said it was a setup.
Honestly, he confessed that, oh, you know what, there's nobody there. Because I was like, who were you talking to? Who knows about all these things that you're saying about me? Things that we shared in private, things that, like horrible things you're saying. Even some of them are not true.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, I just did it. I didn't even mean it. And to me, I just looked at him and I just saw evil. I said, this is wickedness. This is just pure wickedness. There's no empathy. There's no, for you to do that. The fact that you're not even saying it to someone, shows a lot of just evilness, like mean.
Evil.
I don't know what to
mean
call
streak.
It. Yeah,
mean
so
streak.
I think those were my shaking points where for the first time, I took myself to an hotel. I didn't even tell him. I just ran upstairs after the episode, grabbed a few things, booked an hotel.
You left the house for the first time. In how many years of marriage now?
Over 10 years.
This was over 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and you said at the beginning, in the first part of our discussion, that this whole modern drama, abuse, started right from the beginning of a marriage.
Right from the beginning.
So you had endured this for over a decade.
Over a decade. Yeah, like I said, I would say it got better because there were long distance work. There was a time he had traveled for like almost a year there and there. So he was getting job outside the city and stuff like that. So I think that those were one of.
So that was a breather.
Yeah.
So it was almost like you were married, but you had more peace when your partner was not around.
Definitely.
Just listen to that.
Yeah, definitely. There was way more peace because when he's around, there's always like, what am I going to do? You can't ask for help. There was no partnership. You can't ask for help with anything. It'll turn to a lash out or a name calling or
Wow.
another episode of fight
Wow.
that you don't even
Wow.
that you sit down and just wonder, how did we
How
get
did
here?
we get here?
All I wanted was just help. All I wanted was just
Conversation.
or you know.
Wow.
So you never
So
know.
your aha moment for the first time in
yeah.
over a decade, you actually felt you needed a break.
So I needed a break. So I went to an hotel, and again, I looked at myself and I said, you know what? What's the point? Just, what if you die in this hotel? Nobody cares. So I
Wow.
looked around. I looked for scissors. I looked for a knife.
Wow.
I found a tiny little scissors. It wouldn't even do anything. And I started to use it to cut my hair off. And
Wow.
I had dreadlocks. And I just...
You had dreadlocks,
Yeah.
and you actually, when you went to that hotel, you had been so pushed that you got a pair of scissors and started to cut your hair.
I started to...
strand
I couldn't... Yeah.
by strand.
I couldn't. I try to poke myself, but I'm like, this is too much pain. It's not taking away the internal pain, because I wanted to get rid of that pain.
Wow.
So the scissors wasn't sharp enough. So it sometimes it was close to my scalp, and I was, ouch. Sometimes for me, it was a way of it. So when people tell me they self-harm to relieve pain, I know what that feels like.
Because you went through it.
Yeah, dragging my hair and trying to just rip it off from
Your
under
own hair
my
by
own hair
yourself,
by myself.
just to feel soothed, to feel
something else,
something else
other
than
than
this internal trauma.
Yeah. So it was, and they say trauma is not even the events that happen; it's what happened inside of me. It was as if inside of me was dead already. Like, how could we be? How could I be struggling with this for so long? I've done everything I know I could do. I fasted. I prayed. There was even a time I joined Mountain of Fire, lady.
MFM.
We prayed like midnight. Don't cross your leg when you prayed. Sit up when you prayed. I'm praying. To me, it came to a point where I realized, now I realize I'm praying so much for this person, not even as much for myself.
For yourself, because it became your project.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always say when we marry or when we settle into relationships as women, marry a partner, not a project.
Ooh, it was a project.
So this was your project for over 10 years. And as we well know, marriage should be a partnership. It should be the coming together of two whole people that can see a way they can complement themselves. Yeah. So it's not about, I have this big vacuum that the other person has to fill. It's like, this is what I'm bringing, this is what you're bringing. Let's work together, complement each other. And that had not happened to you. And so you started to cut your hair.
I started to cut my hair, have some bruises on my head. And then I took the longest shower, thank God for hotel waters. And I just knew that there was we needed that separation. I didn't even think of divorce at that time.
Wow.
I just felt like I needed not to
She just wanted this separation.
in that house for now. Like I needed, because if I'm harming myself this bad, I need to go. So I went back home and I said, I'm going to move out because, Anyway, there's a long story to that because I chose to move out. I went to look for a place. But then he's like, no, just stay in the house. I will leave for you because I'm planning to move already. So I said, okay, to find job somewhere. Because
somewhere
of job
else.
opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was how we worked it out. So I stayed. But that separation, we were in that separation and there was still a lot of talks here and there, disturbance. You're not helping me process some of the house things, but there's so much stress that you're giving me from just, you should do this, to calling me names again.
So even when he wasn't physically there, he still carried on with stressing you, with talking down at you, with calling you names, with the blame, the same thing you had dealt with for so long.
Yeah, I just felt like, so the separation was going on, but he wanted to come home. He wanted to do this. He has all the. So I just felt like this guy's not, taking the separation serious. I already knew that. So, but my most aha moment was actually sitting with a psychologist.
Okay.
I sat with the psychologist and I told her, I'm weeping. I'm telling her everything that has happened. And she gave me the best psychoeducation that gave me the best, aha moment of my life.
What was it?
She told me about what you're describing sounds like gaslighting. I didn't know what gaslighting was. Never heard of it before. it could be narcissistic. I'm not saying he's narcissistic or anything.
But this behaviors.
But this behavior patterns and all this behavior, this is what it describes. And this is, and the word that she says is that, and they never change for you. They won't even change. They don't change.
They never change.
Even if
for
they
you.
change, he has to change for himself. There's nothing you can do to change this. And
there's nothing you can do to change
it. And it's not your fault.
And it's not your fault.
And I sat down there like I've never heard those words before. Like, it's not my fault. I've never heard what it was. It was almost like, when you have a headache and someone, you're a doctor, you prescribe, you're like, this is what you're going through, you prescribe. So it was like, wow, I finally got a prescription to what is wrong with me.
And it wasn't about the tongue fasting, the food and drink fasting, the MFM prayers, the prayer wall, the prayer room, the rolling yourself on the floor, and the going, begging. It wasn't that. You needed to give your trauma a name, because when you know the name of something, when you know what you're dealing with, then maybe you can start to look at how best to solve the problem.
And actually admit that there's a problem here.
And actually admit, because for 10 years you had lied to yourself. You had called it everything but that.
I had called it everything but that. And while I'm not diagnosing anybody or stating that that's what it is, but the behavioral pattern just matches so well that I did a lot of research
on that disorder.
And I said, oh my God.
This is what I've been going through. Holy moly.
If I read a lady's book and she described her experiences, or maybe it was an article, and I'm like, this sounds exactly like me. It just made me feel like, wow, I'm not alone. People have gone through this before.
You're not alone.
So that
people have gone through.
That was one aha moment. And, but I felt stuck. I still felt stuck. I didn't know what to do. Okay, now I have this information. So
what are you going to do with it?
What am I going to do with it? So until I went to God and I prayed and I went to the Word of God and I said, I'm going to read Ephesians to encourage myself.
Right.
But for some reason, I was reading Ecclesiastes. And I don't know why. I felt like, I honestly thought I was, until I realized that, no, this is not Ephesians, this is Ecclesiastes.
And I mean, if you know the Bible,
yes,
the distance between Ephesians and Ecclesiastes is
so far.
There's no way you can mix one for the other.
Yes.
So I believe God wanted you to read Ecclesiastes. And what did you find in Ecclesiastes?
Vanity upon vanity. All the labor, all those material things, all of it is just going to vanish away.
Wow.
You labor in vain. You're living for your children. They don't appreciate. I even had to listen to it in my language, which is Yoruba, just to understand. It was as if I've never heard it.
Wow.
I've never heard those words before in my life. And then I started to feel unstuck. I felt like I knew what to do.
Wow.
So I said, I gotta know. There's no going back. I can't know so much.
And then go back.
Because there's no, how do I recover from, how do I, so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna, although there's been so many threats of, I'm divorcing you, he's given me papers that we wrote in the house to sign. He's made up divorce document a few times and gave me to sign. And I wouldn't sign it. Just threat I'm going to leave you.
They like drama, and they blossom in chaos. That's what I found, even from my own personal experience. Yeah. They don't like it when everything is nice and still. There has to be something.
Yeah. So he had threatened a couple of times with divorce, but this time around I was like, you know what?
Okay.
I'm gonna go do it the right way.
Wow.
So I looked for legal ways to help. I did everything. I was like, and when he found out, oh boy, it was another headache. It was another episode, because it came back and there was so much anger and
just because you were bold enough to start the divorce proceedings.
So you have money to go call a lawyer.
Wow.
Is what he said. He's like, so you had money, and so it was like, how dare you? And this is somebody that,
again, no empathy. Nothing.
No empathy. No, let's sit down. Are you sure? No,
No.
because I think if he had even done that, maybe I would.
Of
But
course.
according to him too, it's like, oh, I'm leaving you too. I'm tired of you.
That's another one they do. You
And
come up with something and then they go like, you know what? I've just been thinking about the
in
same
fact,
thing.
till today, he says he left me first. Like, I'm grateful for that day I choose to let you go and leave you.
We
And
know that, don't we?
and I'm like, you know what?
He has to take the glory, yeah?
Whatever story suits you and helps you move forward, it's
That's your
okay.
business.
That's your exactly. So there's a lot of stories that has flied out there in terms of, just lies. And this is another pattern, behavioral pattern, things saying things that are not completely true.
Yep.
Right. So I think for me, after going through that, I just, and now there's recovery journey that I have to focus on, which was another huge part. I already mentioned having nightmares.
Wow.
There was always
So
like,
that was PTSD. So
yeah.
you definitely, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but looking at everything you've told me and what's now happening, is almost like you were starting to relieve some of those experiences in your dreams.
Yeah, I relived a lot of the experiences. I was always in fear. My hypervigilance. I'm always looking at my back.
Hypervigilance, yeah.
Like, even though when I was fighting about on some of those things, but when you think about when somebody now overcomes you and makes and you now become so small, my identity was like I didn't know who I was
You
anymore.
lost who you
I
were.
lost who I
You lost the
was.
confident
My
lady, the
confidence,
fixer,
the
the one that
fixer.
was always checking on everybody, to just this little nothing.
Yeah, I felt
So
so
small.
ashamed. I felt so
Wow.
guilty, like I did something wrong.
Wow.
I felt there was all kinds of feelings that started showing up and started coming up.
Wow.
Like, even for myself, like, how did you allow this to go on? What made you feel like you could fix this? You could work this out?
But
And that's,
yeah. That's one thing, and I'm sorry to cut you there,
That's-
is one thing a lot of women go through.
Yeah.
And you got to get to a point where you forgive yourself.
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
Because even though you're saying, why did I was telling somebody yesterday that I wish I had left my ex the first year of the marriage, because it was very obvious that it was not going anywhere. But sis, you're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of women, a lot of Christian women, we want to hold on. We want to pray them to change. We care about what people will say. We care about our children.
Yeah.
So we kind of just forget all about ourselves, and we keep fighting for a marriage, or what we call a marriage, which we knew. We keep fighting for them to change. But sis, they never change.
Yeah.
They never change for you.
They won't change for you.
They
have
won't
to
change
for themselves.
they have to change for themselves. And we need to get to a point as women where we forgive ourselves
Oh, yeah.
for those decisions. Because if you hadn't forgiven yourself, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Forgiving yourself enough to say, you know what? Yes, I got it wrong. I missed it here, but I want to move on.
So I went into psychology, right? And that was my healing. Oh my God.
Tell us a bit more about that.
My friend, in that depression and, feeling sad, reaching my 40s, I should be turning 40, I should be excited and moving life, and I'm like, no, I can't celebrate this. But
couldn't even celebrate turning 40.
Yeah, so very good friend of mine who's a psychologist said to me, you're a people person. You like to talk to people. You like to listen. You like to offer help. I think you should go into this career. I never saw myself being a counselor because I always thought they were just smart, giggy people, like ethical kind of people.
People that were really smart and that could kind of pull it.
Yeah, so I jumped into it. I was like so determined. I went into it and I started studying, and that was like haha moment for me because I started to look into And I was also doing a lot of counseling and therapy. In fact, I did EMDR
For yourself?
for myself.
Wow.
Oh,
So
I
you
did.
had to do EMDR,
I did
which is
EMDR.
like a trauma,
Yeah.
what's it
Yeah.
called? A trauma, a way of dealing with trauma.
Desensitize- yeah.
So they actually desensitize you. You get this like
Yeah.
rapid eye movements and they
Yes.
get you to.
Yeah.
And I know that there is research surrounding that
It
it
works.
really works.
At least
So
it worked for me.
So you had to relieve a lot of trauma
I had
right
to.
from childhood.
Right from childhood, right from my experiences with living with people, right from my experiences even at home, right from what kind of what has shaped my worldview, what made me
Wow.
who I am today, and
Wow.
why is it that I feel like I have to fix or fight or be perfect to be accepted and to be
Wow.
enough?
Wow.
You know, what is it that I had to? And for a long time, a motto that I followed was truth over time,
Truth
because
over time.
I was so fixated and stuck on the time I'd invested, the time that I worked hard, the time that I tried to fix everything.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Doesn't matter what the time is. It's
Yeah.
the truth. Once you know the truth,
The Bible says it sets you
it
free.
sets you free. You can't.
Yeah.
I can't unknown the truth now. Once I know the truth,
You know the
and I
truth.
know what's wrong with me and what has been going through in my marriage and in my life. So I think that I came to that conclusion where, you know, I did a lot of therapy. I did a lot of inner child work.
Wow.
And where I started to heal that little girl.
And Andressa, I was just
Work
going to
on
say,
that.
here, work on that little girl.
Yeah, work on that little girl, take care of her, whatever she need. My baby picture were in the safe for a long time. I
You
brought
brought
it
them
out. I
out?
framed it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
That's the only one I have too. So
Oh.
I started to pay attention to and that recovery journey just took a while. And I remember even when I'm in all my psychology classes, every class you have to do a personal reflection.
Wow.
Because if you don't understand yourself, how can you understand
Other people.
And a lot of that reflection was very personal. It was like therapy again. I would
For
cry in
you.
some of them.
Wow.
In grief class, I would cry. I finally did ceremony of mourning and ritual to
closure.
mourn my mother, to mourn my brother, those things that are
Wow.
buried, right?
Wow.
And to mourn that girl that got so lost in fighting for attention and affection,
Wow.
right? So, you know, and that girl was so anxiously attached, right? To people and wants to...
And never wanting to let go.
And never wanting to let go. So I did a lot of that where I was just like doing it in therapy and school together.
Wow.
And I think that's part of why I can sit here today and talk about this, you know, freely, because there's always healing once we seek help. Right.
There is always healing once we seek help.
Yeah.
And I always say the right kind of help. And pardon me for this, because sometimes we have a problem, and nothing against pastors or imams, but they're not therapists, and they're not, except of course they've gone to school, and they're not psychologists. I remembered when I first sought help, I attended a church that was predominantly white, and I went to the pastor and I'm like, I'm having problems. You know what they did? They sent me to a registered psychologist and therapist. So that was, I believe in prayers, don't get me wrong, but prayer has a role, but so does therapy, and so does getting help from the right kind of people. You know, I know people that just say, you know, this, I mean, I remembered while I was going through all the problems in my relationship, a Christian lady that was like a counselor would say, you know, we have to believe in the Bible, the marriage of Cana of Galilee, never separated, we never heard of divorce, so this marriage must work, and because of that, let's fast for 3 days, but that was not the kind of help I needed at the time.
I had to go back to one of the coach. They were not therapists, like you said, they were pastoral counselors. I had to go back to them and I said, because I listened to a woman who is a counselor in church, and she was talking about abuse in church and how the church misses it, and you know, everything you're
just
saying.
cover it up with
and
prayers.
I sent that podcast to them, to the lady, because I know them, and I think it's because they were African, even though we're in white church. I felt like even though once I shared that I had suicide, because I shared the suicide thought before we went into the counseling program.
That was
them,
a big red flag.
I think it was a big red flag enough to say, say, okay, wait, let's stop here and review what that is and where you are and your safety and what kind of fear, and maybe help me, send me to a psychologist, send me to a professional, rather than, I think they still had, and I don't blame anybody for this, they still had that hope with me, which I was looking for people who have hope with me too. I wasn't ready to listen to. That's another thing, when you're still in love and you're fighting. You don't listen to people telling you.
You don't even see the truth. You don't see it.
Yeah, because I had people that they told me to, but I didn't want to, engage. So people who gave me hope, I was gravitating there because I still had. And I remember even doing a whole session on hope in counseling, where I talked about what that means. What is hope?
What is hope?
Why do you not have hope? And I realized that there was nothing wrong with holding on to that marriage because I had so much hope. And that's what the hopes is what keeps me alive. Hopes is what keeps us going up. We have hope that we're going to sit on this chair.
Right. And we're not going to fall. Yeah.
So it was a lot of aha moments and unraveling for me that I had to deal with, that I have to walk through, even with the church impact, especially a Nigerian community, African community, because some of what a lot of people have told me, if I sit down here, you'll just be like, it's a lot, because even when people were aware, a family that came to rescue me from women's shelter, because at one time I ran to a women's shelter.
You ran to a shelter as
in
well?
Downtown.
Oh,
because
wow.
I was so scared that if he came home and I didn't fix other things, and he had broken things on the floor and all that, I don't know if he was going to come back home still mad. So I ran to women's shelter that night. I only slept 1 or 2 nights. And then a family friend came to get me. Even at that, they still prayed with me and, said, okay, we'll talk to him and fix it. It was more around the fixing.
Took you back home?
And they took me back home.
Back into the situation.
He was even mad that they took me to their house in the first place.
That they should have brought you home. So it was okay for him to keep treating you.
Yeah, like there was nothing wrong. Like it was all my fault.
You deserved it.
Yeah, I did. It's me always doing all that, right? So
let's go back to your recovery.
Yeah.
Because in all this gory, traumatic, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. No woman, no human being should be treated this way. Yeah. Especially in a country where you have rights as a woman. And I know even back in Nigeria, there are now so many organizations that are helping women, that are giving women a voice, that are helping women to be bold enough to take care of themselves and not to remain in abusive relationships. You held on. But then on the other side of all this is a story, is a good ending, is the therapy that you got, the fact that you went back to school, and going to school was even therapy for you.
It was therapy
because you could practically look at your life, look at the lectures you did, and reflect and actually say,
apply
that to yourself, which kind of helped you to heal. So let's start talking about trauma recovery. What does trauma recovery look like?
Trauma recovery is different from everyone, right? It's just now creating awareness around what happened inside of you.
Right.
What did that event, all those traumatic experiences, what did it do? How did it impact you? Right? Because we have different impact, different reaction to traumatic events.
Right.
So being, going into recovery, meaning talking to people, first of all, being safe, making sure
safe.
You're safe.
Yep.
For the longest time, I had a suitcase because I was always afraid of safety, my passport, important document, just in case. And for a while, I kept it at a friend's place, but I didn't leave. Anyway, back to trauma recovery.
Wow.
I think trauma recovery is, talking to people, making sure you're not, what is that word when you're alone? Make sure that, because you're not alone. The more you speak out and you seek professional help. I also think professional help is really, really vital, because a lot of time we don't have a name for our diseases, our mental health challenges.
And
We
it's
don't
not
wanna
seen. It's
admit.
not like a
It's not.
slap. It's not like a black eye. It's not seen. It's
not
internal.
seen.
But it has such a powerful impact.
We minimize it when it's not seen. Because for me,
Yeah.
for a long time, I minimized it, saying, at least I'm not getting a black eyes.
Wow.
At least I'm not, this. At
But
least
you
this
had
is not
scars.
happening.
You
But
had
I had so
scars
much
that were not
internal
seen. Absolutely.
scars. Yeah, definitely. So that's what we do when we start to, especially when you hear somebody else's story or you see a movie, you start to say, oh, at least your mind is not bad. So I can deal with
You
this.
compare yours to some
compare
other
yours.
one that
So,
looks worse.
Yeah. So, but when I started looking for help and I started taking care of myself, I started looking inward to, I sit down even till today when I make any decision or any regret is coming, I sit and I say, what is it in me that is bringing or even attracting this kind of people, right? What is it in me that I needs to change or that needs to address? What is the need that this girl needs?
Wow.
This little girl, is it a need from childhood? Is it a need from my 20s? Right? So it's learning. Trauma recovery is learning to start understanding yourself. So I did a lot of value-based exercises.
Wow.
And that was one of the things that led me to either career in teaching or counseling, right? So because once I started to go back to what are my values?
What are my values?
What is my identity? Where do I see about myself? Right? I did a lot of mirror work. I know I told you I did a lot of mirror work. Okay. Where I started to look at myself, to truly look at this girl, to say, what does she need? What has she gone through? To forgive myself for staying, to forgive myself for fighting so hard, for holding on so hard, to forgive myself for being so naive and not even knowing and not educating myself, to forgive whatever name I called myself, because at times I was like, you're just stupid, how could you not know? I was hard on myself at the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So I had to do a lot of that. So that's why I said trauma recovery is different from everybody. And that's why, but seeking professional help and looking at where you are, making sure you're safe is very vital.
Right.
And from there, you can start to walk slow and steady into those pathways, those experiences that has led you to where you are right now.
Right.
And you find that you're resilient.
Yeah.
You're smart, you're brave.
You're beautiful.
You're beautiful. And there's so much on the inside of you that is valuable and worth living for.
Absolutely.
And doesn't deserve that, because God doesn't want us to suffer.
Absolutely.
God wants us to flourish. For a long time too, the Christian religion, going back to that, they one of the things that I thought then was that it's only when a man commits adultery or when there's infidelity, that's when you can leave.
Yeah.
No, you can leave if there's any kind of emotional abuse, trauma. And I'm talking about, I'm not saying, oh, he doesn't buy me this, I'm sad, so you should leave. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm for marriage. I support marriage 100%.
Of course.
But I'm saying that if there's abuses, just talk to a therapist, talk to a professional, and let
give
them
it a
help
name.
you.
Call it what it is.
Exactly. Call it what it is. Like when people come to me right now and I can sense they're going through similar stuff, I just give them psychoeducation. Like if, when they say that word, the word is everywhere now.
Yes.
Oh, is it gaslighting?
Is it gas, a narcissist? Is this, is that?
I bring out the DSM-5. I said, let's look at what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Let's look at what this says. I'm not a diagnosis and I'm not going to diagnose it. But these are the things that, and you can't label something.
Yeah.
And until, they seek help and they want to be like, it's not about labeling, it's by you understanding and showing how you can, maybe you need firmer set healthy boundaries.
Healthier
maybe you
boundaries.
need to do more self-care for yourself, to understand what triggers me, what is triggering me so much,
and why exactly,
and why, because they know what triggers you,
and they
so
work
much.
on that.
And they poke you, they know what
they do.
So you have to learn and see how you're reacting to that and heal that person. So that's the approach I have now. I never tell anybody, hey, jump out of your marriage or leave.
Of course not.
But I try to just work from a holistic place of looking at yourself, your self-identity, your value, and learning to love yourself again, to be, a lot of us lose who we are.
We
into
do.
the
We
marriage.
always do in abusive relationships. You actually
lose your
completely
identity.
lose your identity.
Yeah, you lose
So you need
who
to
you
build that
be.
back.
Yeah, you don't even remember what it was like.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about what's been happening to you on the other side, because we've talked about identifying the trauma, walking your own individual trauma recovery journey, going back to school to now help other people as a therapist and a psychologist. But in your own personal
I'm
life,
just a therapist. I'm just a counselor.
yes,
Not a
counselor.
therapist yet.
Well, I speak it to you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Because we can make progress, can't we?
Yeah, I plan to be a psychologist.
Isn't
one
that
day.
beautiful?
Yeah, that's
so
one
she
of my
plans
goals.
to be, and yeah, I think
Continue
you'll be a
furthering.
fantastic psychologist, furthering your education and still
Yeah.
helping people, because we
Yeah.
all need some form of help at one
Yeah.
point or the other. But going back to your journey, so you got to a point where you were able to say, I'm done. This is trauma. You went through the steps of, and I'm sure you're still recovering.
Yeah.
But now when you look at your life right now and you cast your mind back to those over 10 years when you were in that relationship, what are some of the things you're grateful for? Number one, are you glad you left?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
I feel like nothing wants to bring tears to my eyes until this. It's just looking at my life now. I'm filled with so much humility and gratitude. Because
Gratitude.
I still have flashbacks of some specific horrific events that I'm like, whoo, and I get goosebumps.
And you lived through that.
Yeah, and then I had to forgive myself, forgive. Forgiveness is not a one-time thing. I could do a whole session on forgiveness, but I figure out that it's not a one-time thing. It's not that I forgive her. It's a continuous journey. Because the more you
Absolutely.
get triggered, you bring a flashback of when
Yeah. Or you see something, or
see
it would
something,
always come back.
it will always come back.
You know.
So, anyways, going back to me now, I look back and I say, God, I don't want to forget where you brought me from.
Good. I don't want to forget where you brought me from.
I don't want to forget. It's like looking at the story of Joseph and saying to this brother, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Because Dr. T, I feel like my life is so beautiful right now. I feel like
good.
I feel like the story, and okay, I have another story about me choosing baptism and name Ruth, but I'll go into that maybe later.
Okay.
Time.
All right.
But I feel like the story of Ruth and Naomi, where God redeemed somebody that God redeems and completely restores our life.
Wow.
Right?
And that is life after abuse for you.
That is life after abuse for me. I remember going back to our old house, resettling into things and calling my friend like, I feel like Naomi right now.
I feel like
So, so I look at that and I look at where I am today. And I'm so just grateful to God. I'm grateful for the journey He's brought me to. I'm grateful for the awareness I have around everything.
Yeah.
Like even simple things like, that used to trigger me. Simple things I used to be over.
Right.
I'm able to,
manage that better.
There's a lot of emotional regulations that I've also had to work
Absolutely.
in. Going to boarding school is not easy, right?
Of course not easy. I went to boarding school. It's tough.
So it wasn't even about the relationship anymore. It was as if the relationship was God used it. It looked like it was meant for evil, but God used it to
for your good.
me,
Absolutely.
to heal me from all of my past childhood trauma and events.
So we choose to look at the good that came out of such a gory, terrible experience that lasted for so long.
Yeah, and you never know why you went through some things.
Yeah.
Until you start using those skills.
Absolutely.
I went to a trail a few weeks ago, like I do some work, wilderness work, and that brought back a lot of my days in boarding school because it was in a very exclusive place where, so I started appreciating that and saying, okay, at least I learned this things from a while ago.
Absolutely.
Right?
Wow. And congratulations, because I know you're remarried and you've been married for over a year now. And, sometimes, especially after women have gone through abuse, they look back and say, oh, maybe I actually triggered him. Maybe it was all my fault. Oh, yeah. But if you look at your marriage currently and in the last year, can you see a difference
Poof.
Can you see that it wasn't in your head?
Yeah.
Can you see that you were not just imagining and being difficult unnecessarily?
Yeah.
Tell me, what are some of the things you're now experiencing in your current relationship?
Number one, there's amazing partnership.
Amazing partnership.
Oh my God, it's like we're in this together, and the support is significant. And then the care, the kindness this man shows me is like, wow. So I had to start learning to receive
To
that.
receive kindness.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I'm always like, okay, why are you so nice to me? What do you want? You know, kind of thing. Like, it's almost like you want something
Yeah,
from
hypervigilance,
me.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had to learn to start receiving love, and I had to learn to start receiving that. But the kindness, the love, the appreciation for who I am and my journey, and just, the understanding is so different.
Wow.
That I can't even compare it. Everything is so different.
Look at that.
Everything is
So it wasn't
different.
in your head, you were not crazy,
No, I wasn't.
doing all those things wasn't out of the norm,
Yeah.
because you're still the same person. Now
Yeah.
you're healed,
Yeah.
you've addressed the trauma, but you see that you can actually be in relationships that are healthy.
Exactly.
You
You
can
can
actu-
actually hold on to a relationship that are healthy.
Exactly.
And enjoy it.
And enjoy it.
even though, they said you're a strong woman, some people say it's because you're a strong woman, you're a stubborn woman, you're this. But strong women need love too. Strong women need
Care.
to be cared for.
Exactly.
The fact that you're a medical doctor does not mean that you don't have needs.
Of course
the fact
I
that I'm a
do.
counselor does not mean I don't have needs.
We all have needs.
Exactly. So to find someone, or to finally be in the space where you're able to get it and receive it, is just a blessing, and shows me that how much God loves me. And like, things can be different. Things does not have to be so always, walking on eggshell, always living in fear. Things are so different with this my new marriage, and I'm just so grateful to God because it's different. I can't even compare it.
So it's possible, because some people just feel, oh, I'm stuck, I have to stay here, and they give up hope. They give up completely. They feel, oh, it's too late for me, I'd better just stay here. And now we're sharing that there's definitely life after abuse, there's life after trauma. We might have gotten it wrong once. It doesn't mean we're going to keep getting it wrong, because they say knowledge is power. Now you're more knowledgeable. Now you know those red flags. Now you can teach your children, your clients, your friends, your nieces, your nephews about red flags to watch for, and how not to continue to blame themselves or hold on to toxic relationships. Misi.
And how to heal.
And how to heal as well, which
Because
we've kind of talked on.
It's not about pointing finger to anybody.
Oh, no.
It's about healing yourself.
Exactly.
Right? It's about working on yourself to a place where you have clarity and you've gained a little bit of self-esteem and self-respect for yourself, and start to appreciate who you are
and
who you're created for.
And that feels
And
so
that
good.
feels so good.
I know, I see it.
I feel like I had to get there to even be able to allow somebody else to. And that was it wasn't an easy journey. It was a painful journey of who are you?
How can I trust you?
How can I trust you, Misi, to not make the same mistake again?
Wow.
How can I trust you to make sure that you are going to take care of yourself? It was a lot of work. I won't say it was easy, but I would say it's worth it.
Fantastic. And I always ask all my guests this one question. Women out there, there are probably so many Misis in the past that watch this today. What word of advice do you have for them based on your experiences? What are you telling Misi that felt like driving herself into that ditch? And Misi could be anybody watching this podcast today.
Yeah. I think what I would say is safety first, right? Ensuring that you're safe and it's not in your head. You're not making things up. When you're doubting yourself and you're beginning to feel like maybe it's also me. Maybe it's also, yeah, okay, what if it's also you? Take it to therapy. If you can't afford therapy, find a safe place to talk about it, research about it, deal with your own emotional pain and traumas. Because a lot of our pains from childhood comes into play too, right? The more we start to look into it inward and start to heal that person and try to recognize what it is for what it is, it's just a fact.
Yep.
Truth over time.
Truth over time.
It's just the truth. The truth is, this is what is going on in my life. The truth is, I have headache, I have stomach pain, whatever that truth is. It's hard to sit with, but sit with it and then seek help.
Absolutely.
Seek help, be safe, and self-care. Self-care is so important. Like we know we hear it a lot, but it means different thing to a lot of people.
Yep.
Self-care could mean anything to anyone, but make sure whatever it means to you is uniquely to you and is achievable, where you can take yourself to a place where you are safe, you're being heard, and all the emotions that we try to ignore, they're there for a reason. Anger, sorrow, any emotions. I love emotion. I love working with emotions now because the emotions are a way of telling you something, right? But a lot of time we try to suppress it. We try to push it away. We try to, we don't want to feel because it's too painful. And we keep busy. That's what I did. I'll call people. I'll jump here and there. And you're, trying to just avoid anything to do with that. I would say don't try not to. I mean, slow and steady wherever you are, it's okay. And you're not alone.
Yeah.
Never alone.
You're never alone. Reach out for help. And on that note, Misi, I just want you to tell us a bit about your counseling services and how people can connect with you.
Yeah.
If you have any handles you want to share, please feel free. You got the floor.
Okay, sure. So I finished my master's in counseling. And thank you. And now I help people from all walks of life. I'm starting a divorce group very soon. Probably in October. I plan to start one up.
Awesome.
My goal, the name of my company is called Cherish Pathway because cherish one pathway is to be in clarity and honor your journey. Your story is unique. I love hearing people's story because I believe that once you talk about your story, there's the beauty that comes from seeing what your struggle has been and how you've survived and where you are and how you've been coping all these years, right? And then we start to unpack that in therapy. So I created Cherish Pathways to be a safe place. I work with people with trauma, addiction, couples counseling a few times, and just a lot of individual counseling where I'm helping people just navigate life challenges, anxiety, depression, healing from the inside, healing from the past, and looking into what has shaped your worldview and what path do you want to take now that is more acceptable and that you can cherish into the new you and the future that you're trying to build.
Absolutely. And how can we contact you?
I have a website called www.cherishpathways.com.
Okay.
My work phone number is 403-439-0302.
Awesome.
I also have email. I have in-person and virtual counseling opportunity available for those that are one in-person or one virtual. And
you also offer at least for now, a free 30-minute
yes, I offer free consultation. If you're happy to work with me, that free consultation is very important to me because I need to make sure that I can support individual and that we're good fit.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not about just come to therapy with me. It's about finding the right fit. And I tell people therapy is like shopping for clothes. You don't want something that's too tight or too loose or too big. You want something that fits, that you look good. That's how you should shop for your therapist. You shouldn't just feel
you're stuck with one.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Once again, Misi, for sharing your beautiful story of trauma that has now become triumph. Thank you so much for sharing those deep-seated emotions, experiences, which could be quite triggering. Thank you for your honesty and thank you for the support that you're offering to women out there with the Cherished Pathways counseling services. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the very end of this episode of Dare to Share podcast. Feel free to share this with someone you know would benefit from it. Like, share, and subscribe if this content is something that you feel connected to. And I want to thank you once again for coming. And until the next episode, my name is Dr. Roberts, and this is an episode of Dare to Share podcast. We'll see you in the next one. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Misi. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.